So I'll start. I'll start again this show by saying, next week is one year since I started here, and I am celebrating by going away. I'm sure you guys are
very
gonna miss
far
me.
away.
Yeah, very far
add.
away. I'm sure you guys are gonna miss me. What are you gonna miss most? Brendan, we'll start with you.
About you?
Yeah, while I'm gone. What have you enjoyed the most that you're gonna miss for
Your
2
beautiful smile.
Oh, that's
he's
so
joking.
nice.
He's just joking. I'll be honest.
Your periodic judgmental look when I say something stupid.
Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pida. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howell and Eagle Sports editor Jake Murda Adams. The organization. I am going to miss Jake's organization. He's very organized, and it helps the sports department run smoothly.
So what you're saying is we should have Brendan be the organizer.
Cute little
for 2
shout
weeks.
out.
What's that?
We should have Brendan be the organizer for 2 weeks.
No, because Bailey. There you go. Count it. Bailey gets mad at me.
1 minute, 13 seconds.
We've been talking. We've been talking the past few days. She's very she likes to plan ahead, and I'm like, I always say we'll figure it out. That's a daily saying of mine is we will figure it out. It's like I'm not gonna worry about 2 months from now, whenever today is today.
But before you know it, it'll be 2 months from now.
I'm gonna have to go grab lunch with her and just compare notes at some point. She's like,
you know what we should do some week? The week he's out, we should have her come in, and you guys could do a compare notes section.
She's gonna be with me. I'm going to the beach with her.
Oh well.
I'm gonna drink myself like a.
You guys can call in, drinking your.
Yeah, you
Coronas
should
on the
zoom
beach.
in. You should zoom
I
in.
might a drunk me on this show.
Actually,
crazy.
yeah.
That'd be so funny. That'd be like the bleep. Should have to add the bleep to the.
That might go a little too far. That might take us to a.
What do you mean?
Someone in this building who has authority will actually listen to it and then hear it and be like, "Why'd you do that?"
Beach baby, there on the sand from July till the end of September.
I never know what you're talking
The
about.
random pulls that Derek has. It's just
Song from the
incredible.
70s, Brendan.
I know I've heard that before.
Tie
Who's
a
that?
yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
Who's that again?
Tie
Tony-
a
that's
yellow
Tony
ribbon
Orlando.
round
Okay.
the
But
old
Beach
oak
Baby,
tree.
Beach Baby
like
was,
1990, 1991-ish that came out. That was for the war. We actually did that. We put yellow ribbons around trees.
But the song itself is from like 1980, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know who sang Beach Baby, there on the sand from July until the end of September. I'll have to look that up.
We're gonna have to. We'll do that now. So yeah, it's been a year. It's been fun to get to know you guys a little bit.
What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned about both of? I'll flip the question on you. What is the biggest thing you've learned about both of us in the past year?
Regarding work.
Yeah. Derek is steady, like unbelievably reliable. Just
Hold your hand out. The Mountain Dew's like
yeah. Maybe not emotionally. The Mountain Dew and stuff, or the caffeine. His caffeine goes up and down, but the work level is like I go into the week going, I know exactly what Derek is going to give me this week, outside of maybe one or two wrinkles that are going to be thrown at us just because that's news. Brendan is
on the opposite side.
Brendan is such an emotional roller coaster that there are moments where it's like, oh my God, he's like, look at the stuff that he did. And then there's other moments where it's like, it's 3:05. He was supposed to be here an hour ago. Where's Brendan? And Derek and I just look at each other and go, this is it. It's two very different people, and somehow we kind of make it work. It's not always pretty. It's a dysfunctional family.
T.O. being T.O.
Yeah. T.O. being
Where's
T.O.
my popcorn?
I feel like I'm an intern for the sports page.
That's probably a good
You have
description.
your,
You know?
weekly hour with us, and you
1
learn a lot in
hour
that
a
hour.
week.
My last job was at UPMC in the communications department for the Hillman Cancer Center, and it was not a fun job. After the last few months, or in the last few months, for a variety of reasons. And so as this thing was all falling apart, and I eventually was not renewed after my 6 months probationary period there, I was texting Mallory the one day about like what I was doing, and a lot of what I was doing was like looking up addresses for like VFWs and churches and things like that to send all these mailers out. This would be like my day, and I just throw YouTube on and watched. Like I've never watched more YouTube in my life except for those 6 months. And the one day she goes, "You're an overpaid intern." That was the job description. That was the title she gave me, and I was like, you know what? That is the most accurate description of like communications role I've ever heard, because I didn't know what I was doing half the time, and I was blamed for stuff, and it was just, yep, that is exactly what that role is. So that's what that reminded me of.
I mean, like separate from the podcast, I feel like I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm like learning and listening.
Oh yeah, you probably know more about what we do than a lot of people in this building.
In this room.
Yeah.
Like
in this room.
Well,
She's the all-seeing eye.
I hope so. Outside of you three, that I'm the most knowing in this room, and it's
Right,
not like that.
Derek's
dragon
number 1. I'm number 2. Laura
fly.
knows what's going on. Number 3. Brendan's 4. Oh, sorry. John is 4.
wow.
Brendan's 5.
Oh, that's fun. We should get one of those like little like things that they have down at the track, and we stand on them. You know,
like
first place is the highest.
Oh,
second,
the
third,
podium,
fourth,
the
a
podium.
podium. Sorry, the podium. I should know that.
Come on, you're a sports person. You
I was an
ran.
athlete. I ran in college as well.
What do you think your mile is right now? I'm guessing it's better than mine.
See, I was a sprinter. I was a hurdler.
Okay.
My
So-
longest distance was 400 meters.
So 100-meter race, who wins, me or you?
I didn't do a flat 100. I did the high hurdles. And the
Oh.
high,
Well,
and the
I
high,
can't hurdle.
and the
so-
high hurdles, I think my fastest time. Ooh, I gotta think about this for a second. I don't know if I did a 14.8 or not. I can't remember.
I bet you
That's
could trip
really
over
good.
face plant over
I was
one of those
pretty
faster than
fast.
that.
That's really
We
good.
went to this invitational in Ohio, and I lived in this house with swimmers upstairs. My roommate used to joke that we could hear their webbed feet because they were swimmers. You know, and I was
That's
like,
bad.
okay. Well, they had a party the night before this huge invite that we had in Ohio, and our coach was very adamant. If you miss the bus, you're automatically suspended from the next meet. Well, I wasn't planning on missing the bus, but they partied all night, and I couldn't go to sleep. I didn't wake up the next day. I missed the bus. The bus left at like 6, and I woke up at 8, and I was flipping. Well, I paid for my own car, and I paid for the gas in my car. My mother didn't like it very much. I said, I'm driving to Ohio. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, sure am. I'm in the car. I'm leaving. I had one of those like little flip turn-on phones. So drove to Ohio. My coach saw me from across the field. I almost broke a record at Clarion in the 100 hurdles. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 14.5 or something from like 1980. I was like, I have to beat this. It's from the year I was born. And I was flying. Like there was no one in the peripherals. I was jamming. Second to the last hurdle, clipped my knee. College hurdles don't move. In high school, they will fall very easily. They don't move in college. You hit them, it throws you
move.
off. I clipped my just enough, went flying into the next hurdle, rolled. And everyone's like, oh, and there was silence, and everybody kept running. And I stood up, and I was like, and I stepped over the hurdle and like went through the line. And 2 of the football players were like, they're like, bro, you were flying. They're like, you were totally gonna. I was like, I know. They're like, we were watching I'm like, I know. I was gonna beat the school record.
So this trip to Ohio, was this high school or college?
College.
Oh,
And I got to go to Duke too and run down there. There was
nice.
a group of us that they would take to Duke.
As you were tumbling that day over the hurdles, Derek was under his sheets.
no, I was.
Drooling on his pillow, sleeping.
This would have been like what year?
Derek, it's 1
roughly?
p.m.
So it was I remember it was the spring of my junior year because of where I live. So you probably just graduated oh no, you hadn't graduated. When did you graduate?
December 2000.
Oh yeah, you had just graduated that December before.
Okay, see, I would have been
Because that
there,
was the year I turned.
but I had places to go and people to see.
I know, right? I mean,
First, the unemployment line down in Fayette County, and then they latched on to the Herald
So-
Standard, and then I got here's.
anyways.
My last
Beep, beep.
last or
Meep,
second
meep.
last year of baseball, it wasn't Little League. I had a new coach, and he kept putting me into relief. I don't know if I've told this story before. He kept putting me in as a relief pitcher, and I had in Little League, you start and you relieve. Like it's not like you have a set starter at 10 years old. No one ever does that. You just throw kids out there and hope they don't peg someone. But he kept putting me in like the 3rd or 4th inning of games, and I went up to him like halfway through the season. I was like, Coach, why don't you start me? Like, I've started every other year, and I have a better ERA than everyone else. I strike out more. Like, I know I'm better than everyone else. Everyone knows I'm better than everyone else. He goes, because when we're down 5-1, I need you to come in and keep it 5-1 in case we get 4 runs to tie it. He's like, you're just there to stop the bleeding. And he's like, that's why I put you in there, because you make it so that way we don't get mercy ruled. And I was like, oh, all right, fine. Can I just start and relieve every game from here on out? He's like, you can't do that. Dang it.
Start and relieve.
I threw a complete game
300
shutout.
pitches today, coach.
I threw a complete game, like 1-hit shutout, one of my last years. And like, I went up to the coach, was like, can I just pitch the next game? 2 or 3 days later. And he was like, no, you can't. It's like, well, no one needs to know.
Paul Skeens pitched a complete game yesterday and lost.
To Mick Abel.
1-0.
Laura reminiscing about her track days at Clarion has gotten me in the mood for track and field. So I think it's just coincidence that we're coming off district championship week. Brendan, you covered the Whipple championships at SRU. I covered the D9 championships at Brookville and District 10 at SRU. We're going to rehash the big moments and the biggest finishes for our area athletes. Brendan, take it away with the Whipple meet.
I would have figured you had enough in track and field after covering 12 to 14 hours of it over a 2-day span, Friday and Saturday, but I guess not. Every time I go into a swimming or track meet, I always am kind of anxious. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really worry about much, but whenever I go into a meet like that, I always wonder, what am I going to write about today? Like, track and field and swimming, there's not much observation to it. You have to kind of find the story outside of what happens and kind of find that thread and pull on it. And Aubrey Rock, she was the first person I talked to at Whipples the other day. She won in the pole vault, I think it was, and she won another event as well.
Long jump.
Yeah, and she mentioned she was a champion there last year in the pole vault, and she mentioned that we think of back-to-back champions as it's like baseline. Like, they go and you've already accomplished this. You're a junior. Why can't you accomplish it again next year? And there's a lot of factors that go into that with underclassmen that come up and are really good. And in Aubrey's case, it was she started to doubt herself after having a bad indoor season. She didn't make states in indoors. In her first meet of the indoor season, she said that she no-heighted, which was the first time I'd ever heard of that, actually, because I haven't talked to many pole vaulters. And she said that she had a medal hung in the corner of her mirror. Her gold medal hung in the corner of her mirror at her house, and she'd look at it every now and then and kind of remember what she was capable of. And along with that, she would have a sports psychologist help out, and she talked to them, and they helped her remember what she's capable of. And she showed that. She said that she was back to vaulting like her usual self at that meet. So that was really cool to see there. That it's a different sort of story. You don't think of someone who's a back-to-back champion as having a lot of rough patches, but she had a really long one that she had to climb out of, and that makes being a champion probably even more worth it than it was before.
The D9 meet in Brookville was on Friday, and we had 2 winners there. Karn City's Griffin Booher won the 800. This is Class AA. And Ashton Grossman, I'm sure none of us are surprised that he won the pole vault. He was the defending champion there earlier this season. He went 15-3 to set a Montauk school record. But as you said, Brennan, it's not the end result. A lot of times it's what happens leading up to that, even that day. And then Ashton Grossman's case, when you're at 15-3, you don't start the competition with all the other pole vaulters. You come in at a higher height. Okay, so he didn't actually come into the pole vault competition at the D9 championships Friday until 13-6. And obviously this is a height that, he can clear. He's gone 15-3. You get 3 chances to clear each height, and he missed his first 2 attempts on 13-6. So, here's a kid who medaled at states last year, won a district title last year, has the school record, but now all of a sudden it's you make this last vault at 13-6 or your season's over. A lot of pressure with one vault, but as it turned out, he cleared it. He went 13-6, and he ended up winning the district title for the second straight year, this time with a vault of 14 feet. But that's how close it came to his season extending to the state meet this week at Shippensburg or having it meet a premature end. But he was able to come through when it mattered most. And regarding the District 10 meet on Saturday at Slippery Rock, we had 2 winners. Slippery Rock's Ava Rich, a senior, won the 100 hurdles Saturday at the District 10 championships, and teammate Autumn Christie, a sophomore, won the javelin title. So you had somebody closing their district career as a senior with a championship, and Autumn Christie, a sophomore, winning as a sophomore. And now both going to the States, obviously. Ava had hopes of winning. She wanted to win. This was her. She had come close before a couple years ago. She finished second. She wanted to get back to states, but she wanted to get back to states as a district champion, and she was able to do that. And in Autumn Christie's case, she was throwing 80s and 90s in the javelin earlier this year. Now, she did have a throw of 113.2 a few weeks ago, which had her seated first, but she was still kind of questioning her consistency this year. She had the one really good throw, but most of her season was high 80s, low 90s, which isn't going to win a district title. And she went out on Saturday and threw 110.8 to win the district title. So it just shows you how in a big meet like that, the whole complexion of your season can change. She was kind of unsure of herself, not consistent enough in her own mind. Now she's a district champion and going to states as a sophomore. So kudos to her and everybody else who made the state meet. Jake, your thoughts?
Well, the first thing that came to mind after I was reading everything over the weekend was, it looks like you're going to have a busy weekend at Shippensburg. A busy weekend. And you've done this enough that I'm sure you know how to manage through that. I've covered a few of these. When you have the busy weekends, it's just divide and conquer the best you can. But it's also kind of fun because you're not sitting there for like 2 or 3 hours waiting for the next thing that you have to cover. You're usually like, once one thing is done, you've got the next event to follow up on. I was trying to pull up some of the PIAA. The heat sheets aren't out yet, but the time sheets are out. And we haven't talked much about Michael Braun this year, at least this spring. And so I wanted to see where he was seated, and he's seated second and third in the 16 and 32, behind the Mohawk kid who he's lost to at districts both times. So, like, despite the fact that he's been injured most of the season and has had to kind of ramp back up, this is still a kid who's going to probably win a state medal. Weather at states can play a huge factor. Shippensburg can get really hot, really humid, and I've seen that torpedo a really good distance runner's time, or just flat out make them collapse the last mile or last lap. Or
storms can come rolling down that mountain too. Yeah. I've seen that before.
So anything can happen with him or with Jackson, the kid from Mohawk who's beaten him, or there's a Lewisburg kid from District 4 who is seated second in the 32. Like, a whole lot of factors are still at play. These are high school athletes, but despite the fact that it's felt like it's been a struggle of a year for him, this is a kid who's probably going to finish top 3 in both of those races, which is going to still be one heck of an accomplishment. The other thing that I wanted to pull up, because I would remember seeing her name, was Mackenzie Magnus from Freeport. She's a medal contender in 2 of the 3 events that she's going to be competing at states. And in the third one, it's not far off that she could potentially get on the back end of the podium. So
she's only a sophomore too.
Yeah, she's a sophomore. So like the best one, she won districts in the pole vault. I think she won it in the long jump, was it? Yep. So she's looking like she could have a big day. But again, same thing. Like, you never know at states. We've seen kids that come out of nowhere and do really well, or we've seen kids that look like they're shoo-in to win and they just struggle. Like, you almost saw with Montauk, with Grossman, almost missing, and he seems like a shoo-in going into the pole vaults at districts.
I'm driving out Thursday afternoon, staying overnight into Friday, covering Friday's meet. It's a 2-day event. Staying overnight into Saturday, and obviously covering the last day of it on Saturday. But you do that much traveling, you take that much time. You just want there to be good stuff to write about. But you look at the field of athletes we have going out there. There's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be good stories and good accomplishments, whether it's from a senior closing his career, a sophomore, junior. I think there's going to be a lot of good things to write about, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Most important question for you, Derek, today is, what is on the playlist for 3 hours?
You don't want to hear this. I've been listening to a book on YouTube. It's basically a book on tape, but it's on YouTube. Have you guys ever heard of Gerald Posner? Mm-mm. He wrote the book Case Closed on the JFK assassination.
Oh.
Yeah, the book itself came out literally, I think, 93, so over 30 years ago. But the book on YouTube is 2 parts, and each part is 10 hours and 15 minutes long. So you're talking 20 and a half hours.
Wow.
You're knocking a solid quarter of that.
So you're set.
If Rob goes with me, that's what he's going to be hearing in the hotel room. I mean, hey.
You got to make sure that Rob's not down for conversation, because it always happens. You plan to listen to something, and then someone
Rob's
gets
always
in the
down
car.
for conversation.
Someone gets in the car with you, and they start talking. You're like, I really want to listen to this book. I don't want to listen to you
When we pull
talk.
out of this parking lot, I'm going to tell him, Rob, at the end of this trip, I'm going to give you a quiz on this book. So you got to listen to it.
There's going to be a book report.
And by the way, I've already listened to this book once, the whole way through. So it's my oh yeah,
okay.
I have 20. I mean, you figure it takes me a half hour just to get to work, to and from, an hour round trip each day. And if I go on a long trip like this week, 6.5, 7 hours round trip, I mean that's a lot of the book right there. I just keep listening to a little part every day.
Well, that's an endorsement for the Derek Pida bestsellers list.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't even agree with everything in this book. It's not like I'm like, Gerald Posner, he argues that Oswald acted alone. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but it's just interesting. There's a lot of really cool details in that book.
Yeah.
I got past Winnie the Pooh. I finished him last week. Hi, Emily.
Hey, how are
Hey,
you
Emily.
guys?
Good. We got 2 Buckeye people on the show today, which is 2 more than we actually need.
I'm Brendan. I'm the one that reached out to you. I am a huge Ohio State fan, so this is a really cool interview for me. Probably the coolest that we've done, in my opinion, other than Terry Hanratty. So,
Oh, awesome.
How's you're graduated now, right?
I did. I just graduated a few weeks ago.
So are you back home, or are you still on campus?
I came back home just for the week, but gonna head back to campus in a few days here.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long are you gonna be still in Columbus?
So my lease is up July 1st, so I'll definitely be around till then, and then kind of deciding what I'm gonna do next.
Cool.
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, and I'm 47 years old.
So it never gets easier.
Nope, it does not. Just more variables in the equation.
Oh, yeah.
all right. So today we're talking to someone that really didn't have a known identity up until a few weeks ago. Many know her as Emily Hayward, a 2020 Mars graduate who attended Ohio State, and recently she revealed that she was Brutus Buckeye for the past 3 seasons for the Ohio State Buckeyes, the best college football program in America. So it's nice to have you on, Emily. How are you doing today?
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, to start out here, what is the backstory to you becoming Brutus Buckeye, and why did you decide to try to do that?
Yeah, so I came to Ohio State. It was obviously 2020 high school graduate, so right in the middle of COVID. Wasn't really thinking too much about college decisions, came up and then decided on Ohio State mostly because of the tradition, the athletic atmosphere, pride of everything there, and ended up getting there and kind of didn't get a lot of that right off the bat. Had a lot of academics going on, but then outside of that, I don't think we could even go to football games my first year just with COVID and everything. So I was trying to find a way to get involved outside of academics, and was always into sports growing up, and ended up meeting one of the graduating Brutus. He was graduating the year that I tried out, and kind of became friends, and wanted to get involved just with photography or social media or something, just to be a part of it. I got really interested in the secrecy and the lore of everything behind it and what goes on behind the scenes. And he was like, that's not really an option. So ended up just, he was like, go for it, try out. So what started as kind of a stretch ended up being one of the coolest experiences of my life. But here we are 3 years later.
You grew up in Pitt/Penn State territory, a couple other schools mixed in here. So why Ohio? You kind of touched on it, but why Ohio State? Is there any connection there at all for you and your family?
So I was born in Texas, so nothing there either, but spent a few years in Ohio in the Toledo area and then the Cleveland, Akron area, and before we moved to Pittsburgh. So whenever I got to Pittsburgh, it was like middle school, high school time frame. At that point, it was kind of late to set roots in the Penn State area. So always grew up around Ohio State fans and everything too. So was never fully ingrained in me, but it was easy to easy to hop on that train whenever I got there.
So, Emily, you grew up in Texas?
Yes,
So, at heart, you're truly a Hook'em Horns fan, right?
I am not.
Texas A&M, the Aggies. Where are we going?
You tried though.
So you spent 3 years as Brutus.
I did, yes.
So you can tell us, is there anything about being a mascot that might surprise people?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that surprises people is that we are considered full D1 student athletes at the university. With that, we get all of the student athlete perks. We train 4 or 5 days a week with actually the Ohio State men's basketball coach, strength and condition training. And then we have a nutritionist, sports psychologist, all the other athletic perks that the varsity athletes get from Ohio State are also offered to us. So that was always a huge perk, something really cool to be a part of. And then on top of that, we're doing 700 events annually. We do weddings, commercial shoots, hospital visits, stuff like that outside of just the sporting events. And then on top of that, are balancing it with 18 credit hour schedules and part-time jobs. So it really was, I think, the balance of everything and just the whole like student athlete life is what surprises people the most.
So just when you thought you were done with wind sprints and all those push-ups and everything, you get pushed into it even more than normal.
Oh yeah, echo bikes, battle ropes, everything.
Was there a certain mindset to like stepping into the Coliseum? Like, do you kind of forget that you're you? Like, that might sound weird, but like, do you kind of take on the identity of being Brutus even though you're inside the Coliseum?
Yeah, I think the first year was kind of just that like learning curve to being in suit and everything. And then after that first year curb kind of hit, it was like stepping into the suit was kind of just like an extension of me. It was like my personality blended with Brutus's. And it was so natural to me that I think personality kind of merged, and at some point I just started acting like it, almost out of suit and in suit, just the same, but annoyed my roommate. It was like
I know, like the like slapping the head when you get excited, like you're running in your apartment like smacking your head.
No, I would not hit my head, but just stuff like that. It was just like being over dramatic and exaggerating things that I didn't need to, and just making jokes here and there in serious situations. It's like just those little quirks came out kind of in my own life.
Yeah.
Emily, how hard was it to keep this a secret before you revealed your identity as Brutus? Who else knew that you were playing Brutus?
Yeah, it was really hard to keep it a secret. It's such a big part of my identity, and it took up so much of my time that it really was a difficult secret to keep. My obviously my family, close friends, roommates, my coworkers knew as well, just for the flexibility there. But outside of that, there was an inner circle that knew, and just especially over 3 years, there was definitely a circle that knew. Within athletics, but outside of that, the general public, we tried to keep the secrecy and everything, the tradition of Ohio State, alive, and try to keep it under wraps while the person is being Brutus. So for the most part, it was kept under wraps there.
Yeah, so you traveled to a lot of stadiums, I'm guessing, and you were a lot of different places. What school would you say had the most difficult fan base to deal with when you're in opposing stadiums?
Obviously all in good fun, but a lot of the fan bases were awesome. The team up north was probably the most hostile environment that I dealt with. You got to understand the pride from both sides of that, but being suited up as one of the most iconic symbols of Ohio State, you're bound to get some of that attention and everything, but definitely a lot of hand gestures, some choice words. but again, I signed up for it. It's what we do. So
they were telling you were number one.
Yes, that's what I saw too.
I'm gonna have a follow-up question to this, but speaking of that team up north, what was that environment like this year, going to that game and Ohio State losing it, which has, I mean, Brendan's gone to therapy for this result, basically.
I have too. No, yeah, especially I actually haven't seen them win from at my time at Ohio State. And it was definitely going into it. It's one of the biggest rivalries in college sports. It really is. It's like a cultural event. It's like you go into the week, people are crossing out M's. It's the whole history tradition of that. And game week comes, and it's like you could cut the tension in the air with a knife. The atmosphere is electric. The game day itself was, again, the pride in the air from both sides of the field. And it's like you wait all season for it, and obviously not the outcome that me or Brendan would have hoped. But I think it really did light the fire for the rest of the season, and led to some really cool things at the end.
Okay, this is the perfect segue. Brendan knows exactly where this question's going to go because I've been tormenting him with it like any time we can in the show. So very infamously in our show lore, our 1-year-old show lore is Brendan, after that loss, said that no matter what happens the rest of the season is a failure. And we were like, even if they win the national championship, because we knew 12-team playoff, like they've got a chance now, even with one loss. And he's like, even if they win the national championship, this season is a failure. They go and win the title a couple months later. Yeah. And the next week we're just like, so Brendan, was this season a failure? And he basically had to backtrack the whole thing. So like, wow. as Brutus, is this, I'm going to put you on the spot. Was this season a failure because you lost to Michigan?
I would say that it was definitely a setback, but it was not a failure.
I was speaking out of a lot of passion that day.
I know. So. And that's both sides, a lot of passion there. And it's like, it hurt. It was heartbreak for the entire fan base. And it has been for the past several years. So it's like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then it was definitely a nice cap to end it.
Yeah. So in my time here, I've been working here since 2021. Michigan ducked Ohio State in 2020. We can't forget that. They were going to get beat by like 90 points. So in my time here, Ohio State has not beat them. So it might be a problem with me working here. I need to quit. I need to leave. And then I won't be sad anymore because from the time I like picked up on Ohio State fandom, I was like, it was 2012. Braxton Miller was a quarterback. So in that time, I didn't see them lose to them. And I just figured it was like an annual thing. Like we're never going to lose. And then I come here and we start to. So, but I'm telling you, like,
it's a me problem too. I've been getting blamed a lot for it from my reveal. They were like, "How's it feel to be 0-4?"
You should have had a better game plan, Emily.
And I was like, it wasn't me on the field. Put me in, coach.
Hey, you were training for it. So, yeah, that day when I left my house, I watched it with my dad, who picked up on Ohio State fandom because I'm an Ohio State fan. I left, and when I was driving my car, I don't remember that drive home. I just remember like a 1,000-yard stare of like, what does this mean for my life? Like, what does this mean? But yeah, so that 4-game stretch, we'll remember it forever there. What was it like to be part of that title run, starting with Tennessee, going through that, and what was that like for you to kind of follow the team and be there as they kind of made that redemption tour?
Yeah, you guys touched on it a little bit, but just being a part of the first 12-team playoff was history in itself. So cool to be a part of, and just going from really only having the chance to be a part of like one bowl game in your time as Brutus. It's like we got the chance to be a part of 3-4 of the most iconic games that you can imagine being at. So like traveling to the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, everything like in a span of a few weeks. It really was such a surreal experience. And coming off of the rivalry game and everything, and then heading into the postseason, it was just a nice turn of events, and just the momentum. Honestly, it felt insane, incredible. Like it was. It was such a crazy few weeks. And then towards the end, we actually competed in our own national championship down in Florida, won the game day national championship with the cheer and dance team, and then flew straight from there to the football national championship in Atlanta. So won 2 national championships in 2 or 3 days and got rings for both of those. So it's just a once in a lifetime experience that I could have never imagined coming into this.
Yeah, and especially after like the tour, like each season it seemed like something bad happened. Like you mentioned the Peach Bowl there on New Year's Eve. My friends, I remember they were all watching the ball drop in my living room, and I was watching the game on my phone in my kitchen. And when that kick went wide left, I dropped to my knees, and it sounded like someone like died. So
Yeah, it was
like,
a few seconds after midnight.
it definitely made it more rewarding with all the heartbreak beforehand.
Definitely.
You mentioned something earlier I want to circle back to. So like I grew up a Philadelphia sports fan. So I've got Gritty, I've got the Fanatic, who have like their own very unique personalities. They are the 1A and 1B of mascots.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you cannot be touched. They are Mount Rushmore in and of themselves. You said that you have blended your personality with Brutus. So like kind of a two-part question here. What is Brutus's personality, and what does each person like bring to Brutus that's new, that's different, that kind of evolves the character over time?
Yeah. So just starting off, like one thing that our coach always said kind of coming into it is he wants someone to come in and elevate the program. So leave it better than you found it. So with that, it's like just bringing something unique to the table that people before you haven't. Brutus's character alone is just that fun, or happy-go-lucky guy going out of his way to be kind. He really is just that like center focus point of the university, and he is a really great symbol of just the pride that the university has. And then I think blending it kind of with my own personality, it was like I always thrive in those like intimate emotional settings. So Brutus kind of got that like more soft side in that like hospital setting and stuff like that, where it's like he's obviously always visible on the football field, but going to the James Cancer Hospital and everything, there's a lot of experiences being part of someone's first dance at their wedding. It's like some of these like really cool moments in people's lives, and sometimes the lows of their lives. It's like Brutus is still there and still such a just big part, where it's his character is very human-like and just kind of like he's like that reliable guy. Are
you able to share which was like the most special moment for you, whether it's like one of those like a particular patient that you were seeing or a wedding that you went, like something's got to stand out to you a little bit, and some of this stuff is probably a little bit personal for the people involved, so like is there one example that you'd be willing to share, like this like touched me?
Yeah, there was one football game. I remember going up into the stands, and again, I like those kind of like, obviously the adrenaline being on the field is so much fun, but I like going up into the fans, seeing individual, like might be their first game, might have special needs, like who knows who you're going to run into. And I remember sitting next to this girl and her mom, and I just like spent maybe 15-30 seconds with them and go back down to the field. And then the next game, I wasn't in suit for that game, and one of the Redcoats came up, which is like an usher at Ohio State, came up and he was like, I need to introduce you to someone, and pulls me over, and there's this mom who's crying, like bawling her eyes out, and it was the same mom that I sat with at the game prior, and she's like, my daughter has just been having such a hard time. She looks up, first of all, to Brutus so much, and then she's like, whenever the Redcoat introduced us to you, just like to you so much. And it was kind of cool to disconnect myself from Brutus, and she was like talking to me as Emily, like you have made such an impact on her life, and ended up being able to meet the girl, exchange contact information. I still text her to this day and catch up with her every once in a while. So stuff like that, it's so cool to see the impact that first of all Brutus has, but knowing that you brought it to the character.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Emily, your time as Brutus is now over.
Yep.
But do you have, were you able to take away from the last 3 years any type of keepsake or memorabilia to kind of remind you through the years of your time as Brutus at Ohio State?
Yeah, so I get to keep a jersey. I'm going to frame it in a shadow box and everything. I have the Brutus hat as well. So we'll get to keep that. And then the national championship rings are cool keepsakes as well to put with those. But I kept a box throughout my time and like a little journal and stuff, just of handwritten notes, personal like letters and stuff that people have given Brutus when I was in suit, or like bracelets. So that'll be nice to kind of go through and organize and show my kids someday. And then I actually get one more time to be in suit. This coming spring, I'll get to go on the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. They always take 2 recent alumni to be Brutus on the cruise. So fully funded cruise, that'll be kind of a nice way to just cap off the experience.
Is it really warm inside the suit? Like, is walking on deck on a ship on that would Is
Yeah,
that
no,
rough?
It might get hot. I I didn't really think about that, but it's like a Caribbean cruise, so we get lucky though. It's not like a gritty or anything suit. It's not fur based, so it is just human suit, pants. You wear shoulder pads under the jersey, and then sneakers. So the head itself is really it's probably like 10 pounds. It's a lacrosse helmet. Wow. And yeah, so it's like probably 10 degrees hotter inside the suit, but it's like the air circulation. There's none there.
So you just recently graduated from Ohio State, and I know you said that you have to make some decisions regarding your life path. But what did you graduate from Ohio State in? What degree did you get?
I got biomedical engineering.
Oh wow, she's smart.
That
Smarter than us.
That's a lot.
Combined.
So what decisions do you have to make? I mean, where could you go with that type of degree? Where would you like to go?
I've always been passionate about in the healthcare industry, just an area in healthcare. Obviously, my degree lines up well with innovative technology, so I've been exploring options there, and I've been talking to a few different medical device companies there as a clinical specialist role. So we'll see, but it's a lot in the cardiology field and electrophysiology. It's like heart mapping and stuff like that. So that's what I've been looking into most recently, and hopefully we'll be making a decision here in the next week or so.
You're gonna have one heck of an interview answer when they ask you what hobbies you have outside. Probably the only one in your industry that's gonna be like, I was a mascot.
I was a mascot. It's funny too. It's like at the end of my resume, so it was just external activities. So it's like they go through my whole resume and then they're like double back and they're like, wait a second.
I would take the Brutus Buckeye head logo and put it right at the top. I would want them to know off the bat and be like, why is that there?
Yeah,
so you can steal my idea if you'd like.
Emily, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for your time, and good luck to you. I got one more question for you. Are you familiar with Vince McMahon, the wrestling guy?
Oh my God.
I'm not, actually.
The WWE
the president, owner,
yeah,
or
president, whatever. He's
yeah.
actually had a few times in the ring too, but he gave me a message to give to you.
Oh gosh. Okay.
This is the XFL. I had to do it. I was forced to, Emily. I'm sorry. I was forced to.
Laura held him at water gun.
That's how I keep earning a paycheck here. That's what I do.
I'm gonna cry.
Thank you
Emily,
so much
thank you.
for suffering through us.
Well, thank you for that. No, thank you so much for inviting me on. That was super cool.
OH.
All right, go Bucks. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Fresh off the best interview of Brendan's career.
I own you.
No way was that the best interview. It was probably one of the most fun. It's interesting.
How cool that she got to go to all those bowl games. I mean,
I'm
even on
so
her
jealous.
graduation, her sash, it says student athlete. It says student academics or something.
I think it'd be cool to have all the perks that she has.
All expenses
She
paid.
gets to go. She gets to have nutritionists and stuff.
Oh yeah, and work out with the basketball coach.
Just give me nachos and jalapenos. That's
Yeah,
all I
but
need.
listen, she also got to hang out with the football players. That's where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go back to college. Okay.
How many more years can I be on scholarship as Brutus?
Yeah,
Or
right.
as this insert mascot X?
Is there an age limit for Brutus? Because I'm going to do Ohio State. Bye, guys.
You want to find an NFL husband, is what I hear.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
No. But sure. Yeah, that'd be cool.
If Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers and I get to interview him or ask him a question in an interview, that's my mom's dream from 15 years ago. She had the hugest crush on him. Anyways, Derek, who has the record for most receptions in one NFL football game? And what number of receptions did he have?
T.O. 22.
Nope. It was T.O. Oh. It was Brandon Marshall. He had 21 in a game.
T.O. had 20?
Yeah, and it wasn't it the last game of Jerry Rice's career with the 49ers or something like that, where they knew he was going to leave? So
Yes,
I remember hearing the story, he was
because
all
he went.
upset.
He ended up. It was his last game with the Niners. He ended up going to the Raiders, but last game at 2000.
yeah, I saw that on a football card that I was looking at last night, actually. So, welcome to Beyond Butler, our weekly segment where we talk about something outside of Butler County sports, whether that be professionally, collegiately, or today, hobby-centered. I went to the Monroeville Card Show, whatever it's called, on Saturday. Derek couldn't make it. He didn't really miss out on much, not a lot of cards to kind of sift through there. But I was thinking, because they have people come and sign autographs, and you can take pictures with them. And a few of the names stood out to me. Dennis Rodman was there, and Pedro Martinez was there, and Raleigh Fingers was there. So
Monroeville.
I was thinking here, what athlete, if you could pick one athlete to meet and take a picture with, have a short conversation with, or a long conversation with?
Can they be dead?
Yes. I knew in your case it would probably be that. So what athlete would you choose if you could meet someone and talk to them for a little while? And what question would you ask them?
Oh, that's an even tougher one.
I was going to say something, but Laura would have to cut it out.
I'll go first. I have been in Antonio Brown's presence before the game against the Jets this past year, where he had the tailgate with the vote for Trump, blah, 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 throwing towels out. That was pretty cool to see him up close and in person. And no matter what happens with Antonio Brown,
Cool
I won't say no matter what happens, because what'd you say?
I said Cool is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah. no, I can't say no matter what Antonio Brown does, because who knows what he'll do, or what he has done, but he will always be my favorite football player, no matter what. Just the joy that era of Steelers football gave me. Turning on the TV every Sunday, knowing that the Steelers were about to put up at least 30 points easily, and he was going to have 10 receptions for 130 yards. If I could meet him, I would ask him and hopefully get an honest answer on where did everything kind of take its turn? Like, when did you go from being this star athlete that was at the top of his game, and even when he was with the Buccaneers, he wins the Super Bowl and he just decides to run off the field? Like, what happened where there was that drop-off to where you don't want to play in the NFL anymore, where you kind of start acting the way that you do? Not sure what that answer would be. Everyone says a perfect hit, which seemed to be a pretty big obstacle after that for him to go over. But, yeah, I definitely want to talk to him about how did that change.
You need a minute to think, because I can talk.
The wheels are turning in Jake's head.
I don't know. I've never had. I guess I'm gonna put this weirdly, but I've never daydreamed of this scenario. Like, some people people you clearly have thought this one through. And you had a little bit of head start because you knew what question you were gonna ask us. But thank you, Laura.
I didn't want you guys to overthink it.
I guess it's just more or less who's my favorite player, and that's probably Brian Dawkins or Donovan McNabb. That was just.
You would ask Brian Dawkins, how's it feel being the second to third best safety of his generation behind Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed?
You know what, man?
I saw it. I was going through my cards last night.
I didn't answer you when you texted me that. So he sent me a text a couple last week. I think it was
Friday night.
About it was just a Dawkins highlight video. And I was like, the greatest safety of his generation. He goes, the second greatest safety of his generation. I'm just like, I'm not responding to this. But I don't know. It'd be one of those two probably, because that was when I was the largest sports fan, was in the early 2000s. And they were at the center of those teams that went to 4 NFC championships, lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots. And then the Phillies followed up a little bit later and gave me the first title of my fandom. So I think it would be Dawkins and McNabb. I have no idea what I would ask them. I just want to talk with them probably.
As you know, my huge Steeler fan, and my favorite Steeler is
Franco Harris.
John Stallworth. Also a Pirate fan. My favorite Pirate is Roberto Clemente. He's so, but I'm just to go outside the box here. I mean, obviously, I'd love to talk to those guys, but to talk to an athlete that didn't just perform on the field but went through, obviously, a ton of adversity, I think it'd be really cool to talk to Jackie Robinson. Just everything that he went through. Just, I mean, the fact that, he was able to perform at the level he did. He was a great baseball player. He's in the Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. Every time he went to the plate, he was getting stuff thrown at him, booed. He had to worry about the pitchers throwing at him. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that he was able to perform at a high level with all those different negative variables surrounding him, it really does amaze me.
You know what would be another good one? Babe Ruth because he's been so mythologized in
Yeah.
sports. Like, he's not that good, and he also played in an era in which guys were throwing 80-mile-an-hour meatballs in bandboxes. So it's not like it was that. The game is totally different now. But that would be another kind of interesting one to.
My best friend, I sent him a video of like a TikTok of someone saying like Babe Ruth time travels and Paul Skeens is standing on the mound and Paul Skeens throws the ball and Babe Ruth is like, "Don't worry, I got this," and he's like,
Yeah.
Where'd that go?
Yeah.
So my best friend is like, no, I don't want to get in this conversation because that conversation will inevitably end up with, and I've talked to John about this. I remember asking him, he thinks if Babe Ruth had the training and the preparedness of like the
modern athlete.
Yeah, that he would still be an amazing athlete. But I don't know, Daniel Vogelbach probably ate a lot of hot dogs, and you don't see him being an elite athlete.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like Mickey Mantle, I believe was a well taken care of athlete. Like I believe he took care of his body fairly well for that time. Babe Ruth did not. You telling me like that we're gonna magically change that part of his personality?
Babe Ruth's been gone for I think 77 years now. But if we could bring him back, we can do this. A box of cigars, about 20 hot dogs, and promise him
Couple pitchers.
a night with an attractive lady on the town up here. Hey,
On Butler's Main Street, yep.
Hey, I'm available.
he'll come back. He'll come back for one night for that.
Just as good
I'll
as
wear
New
heels.
York City.
What did they call women back then? Toots.
Toots. Toots.
For a split second, he had me. I was like, we're gonna have to delete whatever he's about to say.
Oh, yeah, I was prepared to write, edit, bad word at 33. Yeah.
This is the yin and yang of the Brendan experiences. He says something and you're like, this is gonna go bad, and then he pulls it out of his butt and it's somehow not bad, and you're just like, all right, we dodged a bullet again.
He's like Tim Tebow. He pulls it out in the end.
Nowhere near as religious as Tim Tebow.
All right.
We're going to close here with our thoughts on the most impressive high school effort this spring. Here's the caveat. You can't mention Lexi Hames because obviously,
Well, that just shows how good she is.
she's just so good. If we picked an MVP of all spring sports right now, she'd probably be it. But other than Lexi Hames, pick out a game or a season performance by one of our local athletes. We're going to go to Jake first.
This is on. We were talking about this pre-show. It's the only one I can really think of, and I think it's just because I've covered this a couple of times. Is those Butler boys relays have been really good this year, especially the 4x4 and the 4x1. They got a Whippeal record last week. They got a program record twice. They broke their own program record, I think, in back-to-back weeks. Just you don't see that too often. That you have two really, and it's not like they're 4x8 or slouches either. It's just the 4x1 and 4x4 been a bit better. I haven't seen too many times in track coverage of relays being so strong, especially like multiple on one team, and they've been really good. They're a potential medalist going into states this week. We'll see if they actually pull it off. They've been talking kind of all year about looking at what the East is doing, mainly the Philadelphia-ish area, not really focusing on the Whippeal side, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know. They've been impressive this year. A couple records is nothing to sneeze at.
Sneeze at. Achoo.
Stop stalling. Who's your athlete?
I covered Mars volleyball last week. He actually has to sneeze. Was that a sneeze?
That was a cough.
I covered Mars volleyball last week, and you wrote about it earlier in the season. I wrote about it kind of as a follow-up there at their playoff game, their opening round Whippeal playoff game. Derek Piatek gets injured, and instead of he sat out a week after spraining his ankle, which is understandable. You sprain your ankle, it doesn't feel too great. But he found a way to stay on the court and kind of still give that team a chance to compete. That he knew that they were going to make playoffs. He said that he could have probably come back early, I'm guessing, and started playing outside hitter again, but he was waiting until Whippeal's. And that team is rolling. They play, is that tonight in the semifinals?
Yep.
So because of how they looked, their record coming into playoffs was very misleading. I think it was 8-10, and they just dominated when I covered them the other night. So I think it's really impressive that he stayed on the court. He said everyone on that team played different positions, kind of made them stronger overall, which might be helping them. And when we cover them again, might want to follow up on how it helped the other guys there. But he's the leader of that team. He's one of the best players, and the way that he performed the other night after being injured and kind of with pressure on him, I think was really impressive.
So he's back at outside hitter now?
Yep.
Well, they got a shot with that, because now if he's back at outside hitter, that allows Kyler Robinson, who was playing outside hitter in his absence, he allows him to move back to setter, and he's a great setter. Yeah. So they've got a shot with those two back where they belong position-wise. I want to mention Dustin Cohen from Freeport. This is just a single game. Obviously, Lexi Hames has recently pitched a no-hitter. Dustin Cohen for Freeport baseball, I think it was 2 weeks ago, a no-hitter against Highlands with 13 strikeouts. Now, Freeport played in the Whitfield playoffs this past week and fell to Waynesburg, but Cohen, not just a no-hitter, but 13 strikeouts. That's pretty dominant. So I wanted to throw him some love there. But I'm going to mention Aubrey Rock for a second time today because we talked about her performance at the Whitfield meet. Before the Whitfield meet, this was in the Whitfield Last Chance meet. This is a meet where you either, if you haven't qualified yet for Whitfields, you have one final chance to do so, or if you have, you get a chance to better your seed. Aubrey Rock went 19, 2, and a fourth in the long jump.
Unbelievable.
And I knew when I looked at that number, I was like, you don't often see 19s. And as a matter of fact, in Butler County, before she did it, we had never seen a 19. She set the all-time Butler County girls record in the long jump, 19 feet, 2 1/4 inch. And she didn't just barely beat the previous record, which I believe was Hannah Eithen from AC Valley last year. I think Hannah went 18, 10 and a half. So Aubrey set the all-time record by nearly 4 inches. I mean, that's winning that's like winning a football game by like 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's not just it's going to be a long time before somebody goes more than 19.225.
And you and I talked about it last week in the office. Like, it wasn't like she was sniffing that number. She was 18.4, 18.5 going in as her PR, and she basically shattered it by almost.
And here's the thing: that PR actually came last year.
Yeah,
her best this season, I believe, was 17.10. So she went well over, like almost a foot and a half better.
She a sprinter also?
Yeah.
She is, right?
And a pole vaulter, yep.
Okay. Yep.
She's a great athlete. And I'm excited. I said I'm excited about covering the state meet. She's definitely one of the reasons why, because as you said, she had a kind of a down indoor season. And even her first 6 weeks or so of the spring season were, they were good, but they weren't, you could tell she was capable of more. And now we're seeing it, and she's doing it at the right time because she's a senior. This is it for her.
Yep. All righty. That's it.
Note for you, Laura.
So the Ion Sports podcast will be taking a break next week for Memorial Day, but we'll be back on June 5th. We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel and Apple or Spotify podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.